What's up everybody, my name is Nicolette Electra here and we are back with another video here in my kitchen. Hello and welcome. Today I wanted to talk about road tripping and how much it really costs to do a road trip. I have heard so many people tell me over the years that they can't do a road trip because it's too expensive, it's too this, it's too that. And I want to break down those rules and let you guys know how expensive it actually is, and if it's a default of it's actually expensive and too much for your budget, or if it's a matter of you just don't want to go. I'm just being honest. So let's go ahead, let's get down to the nitty-gritty of traveling via car throughout the United States. So the very first expense that you've got to consider is gas. So you got to think about which part of the US are you traveling in. For the road trip that I did most recently back in June, I went from Houston to Roswell, New Mexico, to Holbrook to Los Angeles. So we did about a 4-day trek coming up to California. When you think about gas prices are always going to be extremely cheap in the South for the most part. When you start going up the West Coast, they start getting pricey, and then once you start going up the East Coast, they get pretty pricey. Especially in the upper East Coast, you are going to see tolls, all these extra fees. It's kind of ridiculous up there. So that's going to be separate and you're going to have to account for that separately. But for this particular road trip that we did, our gas was barely $100. We had a total of 5 different stops that we did for gas, and these were the price points for them. We had one stop for $22, one for $24, one for $27, one for $25, and one for $20. Not bad at all. And when we went from Roswell, New Mexico to Holbrook, we also made a pit stop in the Bisty Zna Wilderness. I think I'm saying that right. Super sick, totally worth going. But this particular trip kind of took us out of the regular route coming from Houston to Los Angeles. So do keep that in mind as well. The next expense that you have to think about that is past the gas is hotels. When it comes to finding hotels, there's a few different methods that I like to suggest. One is pre-planning. If you are going to a major city, you're probably going to be able to find some pretty inexpensive Airbnbs if that's something that you want to save money on, as well as hotels. So pre-planning is always nice when it comes to that. But if you're someone who just wants to stop on the road, you don't mind where you're stopping, which was kind of like what we did. When you're doing that, what I like to do, especially if I'm tag teaming, which is 100% of the time, with someone else that is driving, then I like to look up hotels on the map as I go. And typically with Google Maps, it will tell you what the price point is of the hotels coming up on your route. So it's easy to kind of see like what their stars are, what their pricing is, and especially when you go to towns that are kind of like random, scattered, whatever, it's a little bit easier to find those lower price points as opposed to being closer to a major city. So that's something to consider when you're getting hotels. For this particular trip, we stopped once in Roswell and, like I said, once in Holbrook. The very first hotel was a solid $81 total with tax included, and then the second hotel was $90 with everything tax included. Not bad. So the whole price was under $200. Pretty not bad. Then the last, most important-ish step of your road trip that you would have to take is food and snacks. When it comes to food and snacks, I do have a method that I think is a little bit cheaper and more cost effective, and that is finding snacks at your grocery stores. What you're going to find as you travel throughout the United States is that there is very minimal healthy options as you're driving. You kind of rely on being in bigger cities, so I'm going to always suggest getting snacks from your local Walmart, Whole Foods, whatever it is that you want, whatever you want to get snacks from in advance, because that's going to help you bring down those costs. But that's the first method of food, is snacks. Then you have actual food. So let's say you do stop in a major city. You're just gonna have to figure out how much do you want to spend on food per day. Usually when I travel, I really eat lightly. I'm more of a coffee fiend. I'm like, give me a drink, give me a drink. I may have to stop 100 times, but I'm more of a drinker than I am per se a eater on the road. So the food expenses for 2 people are a little bit low because me and my boyfriend don't eat too much on the road. It is what it is. So they are probably a little bit lower than per se what others may spend. But in total, for snacks, we spent $6, $2, $5. I'm sure we spent more, but I feel like that's the only thing that we had written down. Maybe I spent some cash. And then food, we have a $12 expense, 13, 15, 3, 12, 8, and 31. So when we break down everything that we spent, from food to snacks to hotel to gas, the whole total comes out to be $396. While we were driving, like I said, in this particular road trip, we went kind of through the northern part of Texas, hit the New Mexico area, hit Arizona, saw the Bistizina Wilderness, which was a little bit in the outskirts of the drive. Sick, please go check it out. And we also went to go see the Meteor Crater that is in Arizona. Such a cool experience, I highly suggest and recommend. But the Meteor Crater's entry fee was $25 each, so the grand total for the Meteor Crater was $50. So adding in all of these expenses, going for about a 4-day trip driving, the entire total comes out to be not $396, but $446 for 2 people over the course of about 4 days. Could we have done more? Yes, without a doubt. But this was a fairly simple road trip that got us from one place to the other. Now, if you were going from one place to the other and back, this would probably be a doubled fee of $396 times 2. What does that come out to be? So, for the most part, you can do a road trip going over a few different states for less than $1,000. Less than, honestly, about $800. So it's not something that's a default of it being crazy expensive, especially if you go with multiple people. This price point would be just a little bit higher if you included a 3rd friend or a 4th friend. Everybody would be paying for their own food, you would split hotel prices, you would split gas prices, and honestly you each would spend maybe $200 to $300. Tops. Amongst 2 people, this was about $200 each for our trip. So the moral of my story is road tripping in the United States is honestly not that expensive. It's going to depend on your vehicle as well. If you drive with a larger vehicle, these gas prices might fluctuate. If you drive with a newer vehicle that has really good gas mileage, then your gas is probably going to be a lot lower. So it just depends on a bunch of different factors. But this was just my experience with my very last road trip, and I just wanted to break down those numbers for you guys because I think it's very, very important. I challenge you guys, go and explore, go see it. It's not that expensive, and honestly, like, if you go with your group of friends, you're gonna spend such a little amount of money and you're gonna get to see just the world with your friends. Come on, it sounds like fun. But I hope you guys enjoyed this little breakdown, and if you guys want to see more road trip talk videos, let me know in the description down below. But in the meantime, you guys have a wonderful rest of y'all's week. Thank you guys for tuning in, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. See ya!